Chapter 6. Every time the Israelites camped in a new place, Moses set up a special tent, called the Tent of Meeting, where God would come to talk to them. The Israelites would go to the tent and ask Moses what God wanted them to do. While the Israelites were camping close to the Promised Land, God had a very exciting message for Moses. Here's what happened. The Lord said to Moses, "Send some men to check out the land of Canaan. I am giving it to the Israelites. Send one leader from each of Israel's tribes." So Moses sent them out. He said, "See what the land is like. See whether the people who live there are strong or weak. See whether they are few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Do the towns have high walls around them or not? How is the soil? Is it rich land or poor land? Are there trees in it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land." It was the season for the first ripe grapes. So the men went up and checked out the land. The men came to the valley of Eshcol. There they cut off a branch that had a single branch of grapes on it. Two of them carried it on a pole between them. They carried some pomegranates and figs along with it. At the end of the 40 days, the men returned from checking out the land. The men came back to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel. There, the men reported to Moses and Aaron and all the people. They showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses their report. They said, "We went into the land you sent us to. It really does have plenty of milk and honey. Here's some fruit from the land. But the people who live there are very powerful. Their cities have high walls around them and are very large." Then Caleb interrupted the man speaking to Moses. He said, "We should go up and take the land. We can certainly do it." But the men who had gone up with him spoke. They said, "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are." The men spread a bad report about the land among the Israelites. They said, "The land we checked out destroys those who live in it. All the people we saw there were very big and tall. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes. And that's also how we seem to them." That night, all the members of the community raised their voices. They wept out loud. The Israelites spoke against Moses and Aaron. The whole community said to them, "We wish we had died in Egypt or even in this desert. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land? We're going to be killed by swords. Our enemies will capture our wives and children. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt?" They said to one another. "We should choose another leader. We should go back to Egypt." Then Moses and Aaron fell with their faces to the ground. They did it in front of the whole community of Israel gathered there. Joshua and Caleb spoke to the whole community of Israel. They said, "We passed through the lands and checked it out. It's very good. If the Lord is pleased with us, He'll lead us into that land. It's a land that has plenty of milk and honey. He'll give it to us. But don't refuse to obey Him, and don't be afraid of the people of the land. We will swallow them up. The Lord is with us, so nothing can save them. Don't be afraid of them." The people listened to the complaining spies instead of trusting God to protect them and give them the land He had promised. God was very, very angry. God decided to punish them for doubting He could defeat the people in Canaan. He said only Joshua and Caleb would enter the promised land, and the other adults wouldn't get to live there, but their children would. So for 40 years, as punishment for not trusting God, the Israelites had to wander around in the desert. The people didn't have any water, so they gathered together to oppose Moses and Aaron. They argued with Moses. They said, "We wish we had died when our people fell dead in front of the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord's people into the desert? We and our livestock will die here. Why did you bring us up out of Egypt? Why did you bring us to this terrible place? It doesn't have any grain or figs. It doesn't have any grapes or pomegranates. There isn't even any water for us to drink." Moses and Aaron left the people. They went to the entrance to the tent of meeting. There they fell with their faces to the ground. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, "Get your walking stick. You and your brother Aaron gather the people together. Then speak to that rock while everyone is watching it. It will pour out its water. You will bring water out of the rock for community. Then they and their livestock will drink it." So Moses took the walking stick from the tent. He did just as the Lord commanded him. He and Aaron gathered the people together in front of the rock. Moses said to them, "Listen, those who refuse to obey. Do we have to bring water out of this rock for you?" Then Moses raised his arm. He hit the rock twice with his walking stick. Water poured out, and the people and their livestock drank it. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He said, "You did not trust in me enough to honor me. You did not honor me as the holy God in front of the Israelites. So you will not bring this community into the land I am giving them." The Israelites continued to wander in the desert. They complained about the food. They challenged their leaders. They begged for water. They faced poisonous snakes. And they fought battles with kings. Every time something happened, God saved his people. He used the 40 years in the deserts to teach the Israelites to trust him and follow his rules. The Israelites promised to obey God, and they trusted him instead of complaining. The people were almost ready to enter the promised land. But before they entered Canaan, Moses died. The Israelites were very sad to lose their leader. God buried Moses himself. Since then, Israel has never had prophets like Moses. The Lord knew him face to face. Moses did many signs and amazing things. The Lord had sent him to do them in Egypt. Moses did them against Pharaoh, against all his officials, and against his whole land. No one has ever had the mighty power Moses had. No one has ever done the wonderful acts he did in sight of all the Israelites. Discussion questions. Do you have a place where you like to explore or ride your bike? If so, where is it? Where do you go? What makes this place special to you? Number 2. When was the last time you got something that you wanted really bad? What was that something? What made you want it so much? Did you thank God for it?